Morning all, how are we all doing? Morning ladder, morning Diamond. Here we go again. Yep, another week. Exciting week in the markets. So yeah, how fun. I've been having a think at the weekend. I might change the format of the live rooms and do them a little bit more organized. So what I was planning, and I'm still thinking about how to implement this, but was to run the live rooms as a little bit of live trading and analysis, and then deliver the bootcamp course live. And every day we'll do a different part of the bootcamp course, and we'll just keep repeating, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. So then we can do the analysis bit, the trading bit, and then anyone that wants to stay on for the education bit can do. Just to give it a bit more structure rather than me sitting here waffling on about all sorts into sort of 1 hour sessions and see if I can do it that way. But just to give it a bit of structure in the live rooms, but we'll see. Morning, it's time. Morning, Frank. Waffles. Love waffles. Morning, all. Not been here for a while for various reasons that I won't go into. Not sure we want to know. Morning, Andy. I see there's a new EA. I'm always busy. So a couple of lessons this morning to start off with. First of all, don't close your computer down with the opening range breakout EA still running before it get a chance to close out your pending orders. So obviously in the EA we have a setting to close out pending orders somewhere. Where the hell is it? Somewhere. That's the wrong EA. That's why I can't find it. It's this one. Is to close out everything. It'll be set to true. So let me find it. Close all trades at stop trading time. And where's the close cancel pending orders? Yeah. So obviously this will only do that if you have the EA running. And what I did basically on Friday was I shut my computer down early, and the pending orders from Friday's NASDAQ triggered this morning. So I'm short the NAS with $400 risk. So yeah, little lesson there. And another lesson, this is an optional one to learn or not, but obviously I'm running the market reversal alerts EA with drawdown control set to true, so it's automatically scanning out of positions for me. So this morning I've made a $637 loss. So up to you whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but CAD Swiss, let's go 15 minute. I closed out CAD Swiss there. Yeah. Obviously price never got anywhere near it because it's spread. This is all spread. So the brokers will, especially on a changeover on a Sunday, you'll get widened spreads, anything up to an ADR, depending on the pair. And obviously if you've got a stop in the market, you lose your trade. That's why everyone loses them. That's why everyone says, don't hold over the weekend. Just cancel your stop losses and you won't have a problem. But if you're using drawdown control, obviously the EA will get you out. So I got out of that trade. There was my stop loss. That was a aggressive position to try and get a little bit of extra movement on the CAD Swiss. So of course it stopped me out at much more loss than I was expecting to get because it's spread. So I got out of that one this morning. Pound New Zealand, it stopped me out all the way up there. That's a partial drawdown control. Obviously never got anywhere near that price, but the EA shut me out anyway. New Zealand dollar CAD, so it's all the same story. This one was actually a stop. So this one was a position I took. There's my stop loss. There's the entry. Very tight stop. End of day, basically. This was a try and get an aggressive move on. And obviously my stop didn't get honoured, got slipped. And Pound New Zealand, another one there. So they took me out 2 Pound New Zealand trades. That second one was even worse. So yeah, there you go. Positive or negative, depends which way you look at it. If this thing now goes that way today, I'll be like, thank God for that. If it doesn't go that way and it goes that way, I'll be like, bloody brokers, can't win. So just accept it. Either you turn the EA off over the weekends or you leave it on. Leaving it on over the weekends is a possible 1 to 2% loss. depending on how much they spread you. There's nothing you can do about it. I want to do drawdown control, so I don't really care about 0.5%. It's irrelevant, but just be aware that happens at weekends. Obviously, happens at night as well. Yeah, so I mean, this is the whole problem with stop losses and automated drawdown control as well. To a certain extent, market reverse alerts EA automated drawdown control is very, very useful, because I need it. But what I don't need to get is slipped $500 when I shouldn't have had it. But what do you do? So anyway, starting the week with a 0.5% loss and a trade I didn't want to get into. So good start to the week. But if the Nasdaq and the DAX pump south at the open, which is in 3 minutes, I'll be very, very happy. We'll see. Just quickly run over news this week before we get going. Morning, Seymour. I've got a new. I've put a new section on the website called Weekly Outlook, which I'm going to start posting on at the weekend. Basically, a Forex analysis. So this is the first one I've done this week. It went out automatically, goes in the YouTube channel and Facebook and everything. But all it does is shows you the tops and buys and sells for this week. Obviously, all this is adjusted based on new COT report, etc. So it just gives you the top buys and sells you should be concentrating on from a fundamental perspective. Gives you all the upcoming news for the week, and it shows you how COT has changed week on week. So you can see quickly that the biggest change this week was on the New Zealand dollar. So New Zealand dollar, we are currently 56% long. We were 68% long. So there's a lot of shorts. They've exited a lot of New Zealand long, negative New Zealand. Little bit of extra on the US. Everything else is pretty much where it was: 39, 37, 25, 22, 31, 32, 30, 31. See, so it's all pretty much the same as it was. But it's important really just to have a quick look and see, right, what's the big movers this week? Okay, New Zealand, they're starting to scale out. So they're starting to scale out of all the New Zealand longs. So that one I put up basically just to give us a quick overview. It's all automated. The only thing I do is put a screenshot of last week's COT in there, and obviously screenshot the week. But it's just nice to have an overview, if you like, I think. So coming up this week, we've got nothing today. IV PMIs for the CAD, so it's can have an impact, not often. The main thing we've got this week is the Aussie rates, 3.35. So they're going up 0.25% tomorrow morning. So there'll be big moves on the Australian dollar. We've got Powell speaking tomorrow and Macklem. That's late in the day. We've got Williams then speaking on Wednesday. We've got the bond auctions and Waller speaking, and then we've got monetary policy report hearings for the pound. I don't think that's going to make much difference. We've had the rates and everything last week we need to know, so nothing's going to change there. Unemployment claims for the US, and then we've got GDP for the pound and unemployment for CAD. So really the only things we've got this week are the Aussie rates, pound GDP, and CAD unemployment. Those are your three big things this week. Other than that, it's a really flat week for news. Really, really quiet. So not expecting any huge movement off of news spikes. Morning, Stevie. Gone long on the DAX. My silly little Nasdaq sitting there. So DAX, I'm long. This is the pre-market 15. So this is the new EA Andy in operation. Got slipped like mad again. Look at the slippage on this. Unbelievable slippage. So I got slipped 8 points. Huge. Again, another reason why backtesting is only giving you a guide as to what is going to potentially happen in the future. Real life, that's a $500 loss instead of a $250 loss, potentially, which looks like it's going to happen. We'll see. This is the only problem with this pre-market set file is this slippage. I've had this 2 or 3 What the hell happened there? Why did you close my positions out? Oh, for crying out loud. Why did my cells close? This is because I've got NASDAQ running as well. This is the problem. You can't have these two running at the same time. Yeah. Oh, well, that's the day written off. I think what I'm going to do with this account is I'm just going to go Conto on it. I'm just going to try and scalp it up to 5% and be done with it, or blow it. I can't really be bothered with this. My head in this account at the moment. I've had enough of it. Every day, I'm just getting hammered on this thing at the moment. I need to start trading normally rather than trying to work within prop conditions. $1,500. God, look at that. Anyway, so there's your DAX ORB this morning, complete whipsaw. And that's my fault for just letting that thing run. Shouldn't have, if that wasn't running, this interferes basically somehow, and I don't know why. Something to do with these grouping numbers. But obviously you wouldn't have two of them running at the same time because ordinarily you would have shut the positions out, wouldn't you, on the Friday? But right, I'm going to scout this afternoon and see if I can just get it back up to break even and start again. So there's your 5-minute opening range in. We're just about to be in 1 minute 30. So big range this morning. Be careful of that one. Right, other news over the weekend. So there wasn't an awful lot over the weekend, apart from obviously the US shooting down a Chinese balloon, which not quite sure what the impact of that is going to be on the financial markets, but it has made the news in Financial Juice. So there's tensions growing with China and more sanctions going on China from the US, which isn't the end of the world, but we just need to be aware of all these world events going on, because obviously at any point if things start to escalate, you see money flowing into safe havens. So we just need to be aware of escalations in world tensions, because you'll suddenly find money flying into gold and the Swissy and the yen and all sorts of places, depending on obviously where the tensions are. But apart from that, there's no other real financial news. Quarter three is when we're expecting the terminal rate for the euro, which is it's the first time I think we've had a confirmation that they are looking quarter three. Obviously, we've said nothing. Lagarde said nothing, but we're going up and up and up, and we haven't got any idea. So this is the first sort of inkling we've had, which is obviously end of summer, that they will stop hiking rates. So at the moment, we're going up by 0.5%. We know in March at the moment. And then obviously we'll need to slow down to 0.25% if we're going to do terminal rate in quarter three, because otherwise they're going to be absolutely over the top, basically, aren't they, with their rates? They're at 3 now. If we're going up 0.5% every month, that's going to get up to ridiculous levels, which is obviously not going to happen. So somewhere between 4 to 5 is where all countries want them to be seated. So if we're going up by 0.5% in March, we're going April, May, June, July. So there's another 4 to 5 interest rate hikes, which would be 3.5. If we go up 0.25%, that brings us up to 4.5, 4.75. So I would suspect that maybe March will get a 0.5, possibly April, depending on what inflation's doing. Other than that, then I think we'll go down to 0.25. So morning shroud. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So reset, basically. So there's your 5-minute opening ranges in. I'm reset. So we'll be going long or short on this, depending on where we go next. Gold is almost back to break even. My lovely gold trade. What the hell is going on? Sorry. There's some bug with this morning. Do you know what I've noticed this morning as well? Sorry, So I'm just going to do this manually. There's some, I don't know what's going on with this, but look at these magic numbers, yeah? NASDAQ, we've got an order placed with magic number 790 and 791. Yeah. The magic on the NASDAQ is 789. There is no such thing as 790 or 791. I have no idea how that magic number is not being read by MT4. So for some reason, if you're running, I don't know why, but it suddenly decided, actually, no, we're going to use magic number 790 and 791, which would explain why some people have been saying, why is my trading stop kicking in differently to what I'm using? Some reason MT4 has decided to ignore the magic number if you've got two versions running at the same time. Ladder, the same problem you had last week as well, yeah. I've no idea. I hold my hands up as a programmer and say, 15 years of development, that's never happened to me. I'm using exactly the same system I always have, but for some reason it's decided to use different magic numbers. I don't know. It's not in global variables. This is global. These global variables are from the market reversal alerts EA, not from. They're totally different. So I've no idea. But if you can only run it one at a time, basically. So I've no idea why that is doing that. Needs investigation. So yeah, so I've covered all news. I've got to look at the DAX and where it's going. Morning dances. So DAX, we've got potential gap fill going on here. I'm going to take one off there. We get there. So this is the 5-minute opening range breakout, basically, and the 15-minute pre. Third add. So sorry, I'll get onto analysis in a minute. I just want to watch this while this is trading. The problem I'm finding trading this at the moment, because I'm not trading it on full automation, I'm interfering all the time. I keep screwing it up, basically. If I let this thing just run, I'd be absolutely fine. I just can't do that at the moment. When this is not, my other accounts, my other prop accounts are running absolutely fine. It's just this one, because I'm trading this in the live room, I keep hitting about with it, which keeps making it go wrong, which is costing me money, which is what's making me frustrated this morning about this. Is like, none of this loss should be there at all. It's all there because I've screwed up automation myself. It's my fault, but just very annoying. So we are doing a gap fill on the NASDAQ, on the DAX at the moment. Forget all this pre-market stuff. This doesn't exist. This is the Frankfurt Open down here, or here rather. So we're running up basically to fill that gap. hopefully. If not, do we know where the pre-market gap is on the? I haven't got a robo account. Axie. You should just hire automation and fire yourself. That's the whole point. Yeah. Christ. Right, there's the DAX. Sorry, this is an old Axie account. Oh. Just want to see what the gap is. So I know where to take it off. So I just wait for this to reboot. So it's 15,464. We're trading at 15,442. 15, yeah, it's miles out, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to assume that the gap fill on the DAX is there. So, really organised this morning, aren't I? Just so annoying trying to sort out bugs live on stream. It's not a bug, it's just me being an idiot. Anyway, right. Well, there is some kind of bug. There's some kind of bug with the magic numbering system, but I don't know what that is. But then again, the rule is don't run two at the same time. You only trade once, don't you? You trade the DAX in the morning and the NASDAQ in the afternoon, not both at the same time. You won't have a problem. But anyway, so we're just at these pre-market, approaching these pre-market highs basically, but we are getting some rejection up there. So. Right, well, let's have a look at everything else anyway, while we're waiting for the DAX to decide whether or not it's to pump or not. ADR, none this morning. We haven't got any ADRs, basically. So all of these basically just keep an eye on today. It's the first day, obviously, of the week. So we've got no weeklies to look at. There's no news today. We've got a very, very light news week. So we might find that we don't get too much on the ADRs today or tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow we will get some ADRs. Tomorrow morning, because we're going to have the Australian dollar rates out. So highly likely we're going to have everything hit an ADR on Aussie dollar. But today there's not a lot of movement. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I'm expecting a bit of a push on the Aussie dollar on those rates. But it's not, the Aussies are slowing down with their rates, as are New Zealand. So trying to get on top of inflation, with inflation still rising and them not increasing interest rates, they've kind of got a little bit further behind the curve. So they need to do something about that, which is why we're going up by a 0.25% again. But, is the market going to think 0.25% is enough? That's the decision we'll find out tomorrow. So I'm not quite sure whether or not what they're going to do, this 0.25%, is going to make the market happy or not tomorrow. If we look at the Aussies long term at the moment, obviously we've had a weak Canadian dollar, but look at this this sell-off that we've had against the Canadian dollar. This is obviously the Canadian dollar strength, but we've been pushing very nicely with the Aussie for the last couple of weeks into the rates. So it would suggest to me that this is the market pricing in this rate hike. It's what really they're going to say as to what they're going to do next, which is going to make the difference. So at the moment, the Aussie has had a very, very weak time in the run-up to the rates. But from a fundamental perspective, they're behind the curve. Inflation is still rising. So it's not going well. They do need to, I think, come out and say interest rates will go up, or something along the lines of, this is not our terminal rate. We will continue to look at the data, blah, blah, blah. The same thing as the Fed does, just to give the market a bit of confidence that they are actually going to keep on top of it. Because at the moment they're flagging, they're lagging behind a little bit. So, which is why we saw this Aussie New Zealand move that started after this massive rally. You know, they fell behind the curve. They decided not to increase their interest rates, and the market were like, "You're mad. Inflation's going up, and you're not increasing your interest rates. You're not going to get on top of it." And the confidence fell completely. New Zealand did the opposite, and obviously that's why we got that movement there on the Aussie New Zealand. So it's interesting. Be interested to see what they do tomorrow. I think they're going to put them up to 3.35, which is what the market is expecting. If they go any higher than that, obviously we'll get a massive pump in that one. So you need to watch the Aussies. My exposure on the Aussie at the moment, I don't think I've got any, have I? No. So I'm flat Aussie at the moment. I'll be keeping an eye on it for getting into positions, but I want to know which way to go. So at the moment, it's difficult to get any real gauge on directional bias with the Aussies. So if you look at Aussie US, is a massive sell at the moment. Obviously, everything is a sell for the Aussie at the moment, but that quite possibly is all going to change tomorrow morning. So one to watch out for ADRs. If we get ADR hits, if the rates come out as expected at 3.35, and we get a dump on the Aussie, probably a good fade opportunity, I would say. But we'll see what happens with that. So nothing on the ADRs, nothing on the weeklies. Monthlies, so far nothing's hit. We're only on the 6th of the month. So, but nothing's actually hit monthly ranges yet. Okay, that's good. Lots of RSIs to look at. So I'll look at the, actually, let's look at scorecard to start with. So ignoring all the ends, top sell out there at the moment is Aussie dollar, US dollar. So Aussie dollar, US dollar, we've got an extension to the downside. Obviously, this is the top sell at the moment, and it came down like a house of cards on Friday. But that's basically off that huge US dollar strength that we had. So there is a potential fade opportunity on this one. Back up into here, but there is also the strength of this move. We need to see what happens with the US dollar today. There's a chance that this will just flag and drop. So it's a massive short, and you've got an RSI extension to the downside on the hourly. So sorry, the 4 hourly. So yes, it is a mean reversion opportunity. We've had a little bit of a pop. We've got these levels here, which have got drawn in, which is potentially where we should be looking for longs up into there. However, you're massively against the fundamentals. And if you get into anything Aussie today, obviously you've got to bear in mind, if you decide to go long on this and try and take this mean reversion back up into here, and the rates for the Australian dollar come out unfavorable and the market doesn't like it, this thing's just going to collapse. And you've got a strong US dollar against a potentially weak Aussie. So be careful with anything you take Aussie today. Same with the Aussie CAD. It's the same situation. Canadian dollar's pumped with the US dollar. This is just potentially a pullback long. So this is actually a good potential trade in line with trend. However, from a fundamental perspective, as the Aussie CAD, it's a sell. We haven't got cop bias, but we have got sentiment on the wrong side, and obviously the fundamentals all pointing south on it. So at some point, there's potential for this to start that drop movement to the downside. Again, this is Friday's move on the US dollar and the Canadian dollar is going to be key as to see if that continues this week. If it does, then yeah, we definitely want to be looking at pullbacks and potentially a change in direction for the market, don't we? But difficult to tell at the moment. So Aussie CAD, Aussie US, you've got mean reversion opportunities on both of those. So these are 4 hours, obviously. So dropping down to sort of M15, looking for the reverse alert, which you've just had, and a retest. So we've had the retest on that one, potentially moving back up into that propulsion gap. But obviously, you are trading against fundamentals, but in line with trend. Mixed messages. CAD Yen is extended on the 4 hour as well, up to the upside. All these yens basically, everything is looking rosy and as a buy against the back against the yen at the moment, because the yen fundamentals are always going to be negative because the interest rates are always negative 0.1 for the yen. They don't change, so you're always going to get a fundamental bias with everything towards buying the yen. The COT bias for yen at the moment is short, so again, mixed messages everywhere on these yens, and it's very difficult to pick a direction. At the moment, they all seems to have stabilized. So you can kind of trade this in any direction at the moment based on obviously us going into sort of a slight downward channel range type situation. So with the yens, I would say I want to be looking shorts. So this one for me would be a fairly good sell at the moment because I want to short it just because I think when the yen obviously intervene, we're going to get that big push to the downside. Oh, crikey. It's not going to be my day today. DAX putting back. You just know when you start a week like this, you just want to take the week off, basically, which I should be doing. So I'm long on this on the other account as well at the moment. But I've just stopped out on one of those longs. So this is going to be a terrible week. I can see it coming. 2K down. So I got $500. $500 loss, and I'm shutting the account basically for the day. Can't take any more loss on it. Max loss before the bloody session starts. How good is that? Right. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, one sec. So yeah, CAD Yen, like it as a short 4 hour RSI extension, looking for a 15-minute reversal alert, which you got this morning. Nice M pattern reversal. Looking to trade that back down either into that propulsion gap or back to the origin of the move from Friday. You've got resistance or support potentially there, which is 125 ADR. So that would be the obvious place to trade this one back down into in this propulsion gap, and likely going to find some buyers sitting in there. However, obviously with these types of moves, we quite often get a complete reversal, an A-shaped recovery. So dances, it'd be very nice to have that reversal alert on TradingView. Well, yeah, go and build one if you want. I don't use TradingView, but yeah, you can build anything on. Just go and find a coder if you want to use TradingView. Go and find a coder that codes on whatever platform you want to trade on and get something built. I don't do TradingView though. So that's CAD Yen. Euro Pound. Euro Pound is buy. So be looking for long opportunities on that. So Euro Pound obviously extended to the upside. So this is a buy. It was all last week basically. So nice sort of divergence going in at the moment on RSI for a potential short. And obviously it's very, 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 very extended. So likelihood is we are going to get some kind of pullback on this. This is the potential support. And obviously we've got this propulsion move here. So that's the propulsion gap that broke that high. So there's potential support in there as well. So there's a couple of scenarios you can play if you're long bias on it, which should be really with the euro and pound, is pull back into there or pull back into there. So I'd be looking for RSI extensions or ADR hits to the downside on this, looking at the hourly. So see if we can get back down to here. If you want to take a mean reversion trade on it though, obviously H4 extended, M15 reverse alert was on Friday. So that would have been your entry on Friday, which you'd be in profit on at the moment. But obviously you are fighting against the trend and against sentiment and against fundamentals and against everything. So euro is a long, pound is a short. So we don't really want to be taking those to the opposite side. Euro New Zealand extended to the upside. We've just taken out the highs. So we've got a new high put in on Euro New Zealand. Obviously, the COT positioning changed on the New Zealand this week. So they're scaling out of these longs. So we're very, very, very extended at the moment to the upside. Looking for an M15 reversal alert if you're going to take the mean reversion, which you've just had this morning, although it wasn't a, this is in Asia with New Zealand dollar. It's very light liquidity. So it is kind of still range bound. I would probably look for an hourly on that. So wait for a reverse alert on the hourly. And then if that kicks in, you've got a trade down either into the propulsion gap down here or into that support. But it's a tricky one, that one. It's euro, obviously, and we've had scaling out on the New Zealand. So there is no bias, euro New Zealand, is there? No. So we've got no bias either way on the euro New Zealand. So it's kind of one of those pairs you can trade in any direction at the moment. But nicely extended to the upside. So highly likely we are going to get some kind of profit take move on this. Quite where it's going to come back to, difficult. So this has been in a range now since the middle of December. And this is the first time we've broken out of that high. If you look at what happened last time we did that, yeah, we just basically pushed all the way back down to those lows again. So we've broken out of that high. There is a very strong potential for it to move somewhere back down to here. However, New Zealand dollar is starting to weaken. So it could be a case of this is the breakout that actually gets going for Euro New Zealand. Very bullish on the euro at the moment. The guard's bullish. Interest rates have just gone up. Everything's going well for the euro, and New Zealand has had a really good run. So it's obviously ready for a weakening. Right. Just got to turn the EA off. One sec. Oh, actually, the EA is not running. It is. One sec. Just turn it off. I'm max loss today, so I've got to stop trading. Oh, good start to the week. 2.5% loss. Nice. So basically, if this all goes and starts pushing today, then obviously this stage is blown, so I'll have to start again in this evaluation. But hey ho. So yeah, Euro New Zealand, pound CAD. So bias on the pound CAD is a sell at the moment. There's no COT bias. There's no directional bias either way on this at the minute, but we have got retail on side. So all the retail crowd are long on the pound. Sorry. CAD? I'm on pound odd. Pound CAD. So obviously the trade on this has been a short. It's already short. So again, you're trading this against the trend, basically against the fundamentals. We've got this low down here, which we haven't been to since beginning of January. So there's potential for this to act as some kind of support down here as well. So very, very, very nicely extended. Potential move to the upside on this. You've had your 15-minute reversal alert this morning. So again, all of these ones against the US dollar and the CAD, it's difficult to know whether or not we're going to get continued strength after the move on Friday. So either we're going to fade the move, which is quite common, or we're going to accumulate and put in another leg. No way of telling, obviously, until it goes. So you need to make a decision on it and obviously then decide whether or not you're going to use a stop or whether you're going to try and scale into the move. But this was a very, very big propulsion move that we got. And then obviously an accumulation second move. So you've got a couple of areas where there's likely to be sellers sitting here. So I wouldn't want to get too aggressive with it. However, it's very, very, very extended, and there's a good, strong possibility there's going to be a profit take move on it. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at last time we had like that sort of strength, some kind of profit take move likely to happen, but you don't want to get too eager with it. This is a massive short at the moment. Pound is a short. CAD is, well, if it's going to strengthen up, I can't believe it. Can you believe my luck today? Stopped out, pop. I'm done for the day. I'm not trading anymore today. That's me out. Ugh, one of those days. Pounds. So yeah, pound CAD, good looking long opportunity for mean reversion. But obviously bear in mind, you are trading against fundamentals and against retail at the minute. But you are in line kind of with trend if you believe that the pound is strong. But if you actually look at the pound CAD, market structure has actually now shifted almost to the downside. So really this level here that we're looking at, if this breaks today or in the next few days, that confirms your market structure short. So you definitely want to be looking for pullbacks and shorts on that. But I want to be shorting everything pound basically at the moment. Pound Swiss, another one extended on the 4 hour. It's come out of extension, so we've had lots of opportunities to get into this one basically. It's a tricky one, the Swiss franc. Like I said, the money tends to flood in and out of the Swissy as a safe haven sort of currency, but at the moment the Swissy's not been doing particularly well because it's had bad news with the Swiss National Bank losing money. So it's difficult to tell what's going on with the Swiss, but I would always expect the Swissy to beat the pound at the moment from a fundamental perspective and just from a strength perspective. So I'd be much more interested in looking at short trades on it. We are extended massively down here. So we looked at this one before. When you get down to sort of below the 20 level on the RSI, there's been something big going on. And obviously we're looking for some kind of pullback on it. We have had a pullback and now it's started to push back down again. But the Swiss franc is very, very wicky all the time. So it is a very wicky pair. So you get a lot of decent movement to the upside and then it pushes back down hard, and then it pushes back up hard again. So it's a difficult one to mean revert, I think, where we are at the moment. However, we got that massive target to the upside there. But you're reliant on the pound actually having some strength, and I just don't think that's going to come. So definitely be looking for shorts on this. So I wouldn't want to be taking that one. But if we got up here somewhere, ADRs to the upside, RSI extensions to the upside, definitely start looking for shorts. Pound US dollar, again, today, this early part of this week, today, tomorrow, I really want to see what is going to happen with the US dollar based on this. So you've got two choices with everything US dollar and everything CAD today. Either you play the fade or you wait for a move and then get in. So your choices are either to take really a breakout of the Asian session to the downside if you think that move is going to continue, or the fade over the next couple of days. Remember, we've got no news that's really going to kick the US dollar into any kind of movement until the end of this week. We've got lots of talking heads throughout the week, but there's no scheduled news really. Unemployment claims on Thursday, maybe, but there's no scheduled news that's really going to kick the US dollar this week. So it's a very difficult one to trade this week. I like the idea of the fade personally, but if I was going to trade any fade, it wouldn't be the pound. I wouldn't trade the pound. So that is very, 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 very extended. But I think the danger with this one is because the pound's got no strength, just getting kind of a flag movement and then a break to the downside. So that's really what I'd be looking for reverse alerts to the downside. If it can push up. But I'm not sure it's really going to get back up to there. It may get back up to there, in which case you're going to be roughly at ADR. You may well be extended on the hourly by the time you get there. No, not unlikely. It's got to be a pretty big move, isn't it, to get up there? So yeah, pound US dollar. Up to you whether you think it's a decent fade opportunity. Probably one I'd take with a stop, because if this does come down on any US dollar strength or any pound weakness, it's probably going to come down pretty hard. If you look at the pound US and potentially where it's got to go from here, it's all the way back down to there, or potentially there. So you've got an ADR drop on this thing. So if you look at the move we had here, look, that's all we managed to get before the next leg started. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be absolutely exhausted. On the 4 hour, we're already extended on the 4 hour massively. So if we're going to get all the way back down there, it's highly unlikely. But an accumulation or a flag, definitely, I think, is on the cards. But again, difficult to tell. We need to sit and watch the US dollar after Friday's movements and see what that decides to do. So, New Zealand dollar CAD. I'm in a buy on this one at the moment. So fading this move. New Zealand's still got a little bit of power on it. Canadian dollar has obviously powered up with that, but I'm playing the fade at the moment on this one. Sentiment on this was strong. New Zealand dollar CAD. So we've lost the retail sentiment on it, but COT position is still long on this one. So the market is still long at the moment. But like I said last week, COT is a week behind. So we don't know what changes we've had in the futures market up until all of last week's news. So the COT figures that we've got published this week are reflective of everything up until that point. Yeah, sorry, that point there. So this is the positioning from Tuesday last week. And obviously, after Tuesday last week, we had all the rates and the unemployment figures. So COT at the moment is a week delayed and a week behind the massive, massive, massive news that we had. So very, very difficult to know which way this is going to go, this US dollar and this Canadian dollar. So, but good fade opportunity on this one. And obviously, at the moment, we've got COT on the side. The New Zealand's still got some strength in it. So like I said, if you're going to trade something against the US dollar or against the CAD, you want to pick something that has actually got a little bit of strength in it. The euro would be probably the best thing to use at the moment. New Zealand potentially, Aussie potentially, but not the pound. So that's why that is the most extended, because you've got the weakest currency at the moment against something that was massively strong last week off the back of all that news. So good strong move to the downside on that. But yeah, New Zealand gone to CAD. It's very, very extended. I've obviously got into it when it's massively extended down here. Looking for a push back to the upside on it, just to get out of that one basically. New Zealand dollar Swiss, massively extended. That's coming down again this morning. Is that Swiss franc? Yeah, strong Swiss franc this morning. Yeah, very strong Swissy this morning. Very strong Swissy this morning. That's good. So loads of money coming into the Swiss franc this morning. So New Zealand dollar Swiss, where are we? Very extended. Again, we've got movement coming in on Swissy. All the liquidity is going to be sitting there. Look. Loads of money sitting under there. So wouldn't surprise me if they come down here and grab that. But we are extended already. So chances of a profit take, difficult to pick somewhere on that, isn't it? So that level there, obviously, we've been interested in previously and rejected. So I would be looking, if we take that liquidity out, get a reversal alert in down there, be very extended on the hourly, be very extended on the 4 hourly. We're running into an area where we've had previous buying. So there's going to be limit orders sitting down here ready to trigger, and then look for a move back up into that propulsion gap. Fundamentals on this, New Zealand Swiss, it's neutral. New Zealand dollar. Yeah, it's really mixed. So the market is long on this at the moment. So COT is long, the market is long. So obviously you want to be shorting it from a retail perspective, which is obviously what's happening today. Retail are long on this, so the market's coming down at the moment. So again, that one's very, very extended, likely to move up, but they're probably going to want to come and take that liquidity first. So once it gets down below that level, that would be a good spot to start buying New Zealand dollar Swiss. New Zealand US, same story as all the others. Are we or aren't we going to come back up and undo this move? Very, very difficult to tell at the moment. There's no real clues with the US dollar at the minute as to directional bias. It's not going strong in any direction really at all at the moment. So New Zealand US very nicely extended. Again, good mean reversion opportunity. This one's got loads and loads of room to the upside. It's got a good 1.5 ADR all the way up to there. Don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to put in, that sort of movement at all. But it all depends on whether or not we get strength in the US. Cam, bootcamp training would be really helpful to compound what we're learning. Yeah, I'll have a think about that. I was just trying to think about the logistics of how to put it together, really. Because it's a lot of information, and I don't want to be sitting here for 2 to 3 hours a day delivering the bootcamp. I want to break it down into really manageable chunks even, with a decent sort of theme each day, if you like. But I'll have a think about that. And the other thing, obviously, we've got a London session and a New York session. So it's a case of if you deliver a bit of it in London, everyone in New York misses it. So it's logistically quite actually difficult to arrange, but I'll figure it out. US dollar yen. So that one again is a huge push to the upside. The yen always, if the US dollar is pushing against the yen, they're always keeping a very close eye on that. So intervention tends to come when the US dollar gets strong against the yen. So we may well see some yen strength coming through. Depends how far this US dollar can get. And again, it's a lovely mean reversion opportunity. We've also got a gap fill there, which is very likely to get done. You haven't got far on the gap. 65 pips, about half an ADR down to that gap. So that looks like a pretty good short at the moment. But again, it's the same as all the other US dollars. All this massive movement we had on the unemployment claims on Friday, are they going to undo all of that? And is it a fake move? Or are we actually now, for once, seeing some strength come through in the US? The US dollar has been unbelievably weak compared to all the news we've had. We've had nothing but positive news coming out about the US dollar, yet every time there's an inkling of something negative, it collapses. So we've never had that strength that the market has been forecasting. The market has been long US dollar for absolutely ages. All the US dollar pairs, we've had cot positioning long on them. So, they have been making money out of it, but it's just not had the strength to actually get any moves started. So we had positive news after positive news after positive news, and then we had the unemployment, and that is the big one. The unemployment was expected to fall because interest rates have kept going up. And that unemployment dropping on positive interest rates is a big indicator that actually they're ahead of the curve, because you would expect unemployment to go up when you're increasing your interest rates. It leads to unemployment. So the fact that's not happening means that they may well be able to now freeze their interest rates. And if they again see that coming down and inflation starting to stabilize or drop, US dollar is really going to get a push. So I'm wondering if this is the market factoring in that expectation now or not. We won't be able to find out until obviously we get some price action to determine what's going on. So I fully expect a pullback on it. It's whether or not they come back to here. If they come back to here, it means the market's just still not interested in the US dollar, and regardless of how much positive news you get, the thing just keeps dropping. So difficult. But short term, any of these moves, when we get an RSI extensions, they are short-term moves, aren't they? So we're looking really for quick plays down to the downside because something's extending. We're looking for the profit take move. We're looking to jump on that profit take. So there is potential good move to the downside there on the US dollar yen. I'd much rather be short the yen than anything as well. So I'm not taking any more trades though today because today's dead. So I need to be careful today because I obviously got max loss. I've got max loss 5k, so I can't. I might have to scale out even some more of this today. What a start to the week. Oil. So oil. Right, I got out of my oils on Friday. Perfectly. Not through anything but pretty lucky. But obviously you can see why I got out. I jumped out in the propulsion gap just before first position, just before the propulsion gap. Then I put a trailer on the second one into the propulsion gap. As soon as it hit that propulsion gap, boy, did the sellers step back in again and drive oil back down again. So oil prices really struggled off the back of that US dollar news. We're getting to the point now where we're going to potentially invalidate this bull move. So we pushed, made a new high. We pulled back off of it, came back up, double topped it. Bullish. It's all massively bullish. Then we went into a bit of an accumulation, made a new higher low. Then we pushed back up into resistance. Then we started to drop. So the play was that. That was what was being expected, pushing back up to the $100 barrel. Not interested. So very difficult to know what is going on with oil at the minute. But it's exactly the same as the rest of them with this US dollar movement. Very possible that we're just going to just move back to where we were. So lovely mean reversion opportunity. So on the 4-hour RSI, you are very extended to the downside. Again, look at what happened last time. We had a catastrophic drop. Yeah. So very, very high probability of a pushback to the upside. However, we are very, very close to that low as well. So it's very tempting for the market to come back down and retest this level. So difficult with oil today. Again, when you got situations like this, when you've had a big news event that's moved the market to this extreme, it's always good just to sit back and watch. Your trades after a move of this size are either highly profitable because you get a big strong push back, big mean reversion back, big profit take move back out of them, or they're very dangerous because what you get is an accumulation second leg, like that one there, accumulate second leg. So you don't know whether you're going to get the mean reversion, the V-shaped recovery, or you're going to get the accumulation drop. You never know, obviously. So you've always got those two scenarios. You know, market only goes up and down, doesn't it? So you decide which one you want to get on board with. With oil, as I say, you're so close. You know, was it 160 odd? Just about half an ADR, literally back down into here. And then you've got the choice down there as to what you do. So there's two main levels coming up on oil. That one there and that one there. So this move here kind of invalidates the market structure that we were looking to be put in. That's what we were expecting, what I was expecting. And we got that off of the unemployment figures. So is it a legit move or is it just the market reaching? Don't know. But until we invalidate that level, we are still bullish. So this, if you're going to buy in a bull market, this is exactly where you want to be in it. It's as low as you can get, but looks a bit too low to me, to be honest. But we'll see. So got two levels there to look at, potentially for bounces. So that's all your 4 hours. Loads of opportunities there, but the vast majority of this is all being driven by the Canadian and the US movement on Friday. So, you know, you've got a 50-50 shot of either the fade or not. So quite risky entries, all of these today. Hourlies are all pretty much the same. The only ones we've got on the hourlies which are not the same are the Euro US dollar, which is extended and embedded down here on the hourly. Again, all we're doing this morning at the moment is accumulating. Euro seems to be pushing a little bit. Or is that US dollar weakness? No, that looks like US dollar weakness. So euro is pushing against the US dollar. So the US dollar's opening weak this morning. So yeah, could it be the mean reversions are kicking in? So you've got a very good opportunity for a fade there. We've just broken below the lows. So again, whenever we break out of a level, usually after the breakout comes the pullback, and your decision is, when you're doing a mean reversion trade off of a strong move, is where are we going to pull back to? So you've got that level there, obviously, and we've got the propulsion gap. So potential there's a fade all the way back up into there. Could pop back to that level there and find sellers. There's no propulsion gaps on the hourly. M15, you've got a little bit there where we accumulated and dropped, so you find some selling pressure probably coming in there. But other than that, it's straight back into this area, ADR today. So there's potential for a good move to the upside on the euro US dollar. That's extended on the hourly. And the other one you've got is the pound New Zealand, which is very extended to the upside as well. I'm already short on this one. So this is a short sell based on sentiment. So pound New Zealand, again, this was massively extended and a nice sell, but retail sentiment has jumped out the other way. They've all been stopped out, basically. So yeah, short on that, but I'm short the pound. I don't really care. If this pushes, it's fine. It's the pound. The pound is on its knees at the minute. So I'll just keep skating to that one short, obviously, and wait for the next leg down to kick in. So we're pulling back into the 24 on this one at the moment. So would expect some sellers to start stepping in here in this propulsion move, hopefully push this one back down. So market structure is very bearish. So just in too early on that one. Indices. So obviously the DAX, on Friday, we pushed up again. But Friday, all we managed to do was an inside bar. So we had a 3-day rally last week. Very, very strong. Same as the FTSE. So the FTSE and the DAX are the two that are out of kilter at the moment. FTSE, again, on Friday, put in a new high. This is not so much an all-time high, but that's 2018 there. March 2018. Oh, maybe it was an all-time high. Yeah, it was. So we not an all-time high, but higher the last, I think it's 15-year high that was. So really, really rallying Europe, doing very, very, very well. Obviously, when you get strength in the stock market, you tend to get weakness in the currency. Stock market is certainly going strong, isn't it? So it's one of those things with the DAX that kind of is a little bit out of kilter at the moment. So we've got an inside bar. We're expecting the euro to rally, which would mean that we would expect some kind of accumulation or drop on the DAX. We've got an inside bar and we've got a gap down, which has been pretty much filled in this morning. So no directional bias at all at the moment on the DAX. Be looking for that one probably to come down at some point. But again, we've got no real news catalysts on the euro until economic forecast. We kind of had that all from Lagarde last week, really. But there is no euro news at all this week, is there? No, flat. So we've got nothing on the euro this week at all, apart from the economic forecast. But Lagarde kind of laid all that out with the ECB press conference last week. So be interesting to see what we get with that one. NASDAQ, again, inside bars on Friday on the NAS and on the S&P. Well, not quite, actually. S&P actually put in a lower low. But the question is, with these, are we out of the bear market? So all of these now, we've got a lovely symmetrical triangle formation starting on the Dow. Yeah. So are we or aren't we? NASDAQ, we've pushed up, we've broken that high, quite substantially. So again, market structure on this one, we are looking as if we are starting to push back into a bull market. We're well above the 200 moving average now. So a pullback into 2472 zone on this one, potentially for a push up. I don't know. What's everybody's thoughts on this? I mean, I still can't believe we're out of this bear market. However, there's a lot of talk now about no recessions, isn't there? We were talking recession. Apparently not anymore with the US, in which case then we should be seeing some kind of strength coming through in all these indices. So difficult to tell. But if that is the case, what I want to see is a pullback into the 24.72 area, and then I want to see some kind of bullish movement. When this actually starts, I will start buying all the dips long term, which is how I used to kind of run my pension, just buying dips in the US indices, scaling into dips, basically. Pretty much the same as Larry Williams' strategy. So just keep buying dips, and you'll do very, very well. But you need a bull market. So is it starting? Don't know. But the S&P is the one that really kind of tells it's the bigger, more stable one. We have broken out into new highs. So that's really what I'm looking for. So this week's pretty key with the US indices. If we get that sort of movement, i.e. some weakness on the US in the first half of the week, and then, we'll see. But I kind of like it. However, there's something in my head that is saying we just still have not come and tested these levels yet, which I don't know. Where did we get to? Kind of got to there, didn't we? Look. So didn't quite get back to the pre-COVID drop, which is where everyone was anticipating it going. Remember I said up here, I was like, if this is bear, this is where we're headed. We didn't quite get there, but not far off. So we will see. But I don't know. Undecided at the moment on the indices. Right, that's it on those RSIs. There's no ADRs, as I say. Those are all your RSIs. A lot of the RSIs, though, obviously are extended based on the US movements. So main buys and sells this week: Aussie US, pounds US, New Zealand US, pound New Zealand, Euro US, Aussie dollar CAD, pound CAD, Aussie New Zealand. So there's a lot of big sell opportunities out there. All based, a lot of this is based on US dollar strength, obviously. So we need that to kick in. Top buys, US dollar CAD and Euro pound. So that's got good sentiment behind it. So looking at sentiment, the COT report, obviously last week, the main change on that was scaling out of New Zealand dollar. Apart from that, everything else is pretty much the same. So COT hasn't changed an awful lot. We know we've got longs on all of these. When the sentiment, retail sentiment, is the opposite side as well, that gives you that little extra boost. So Euro odd and Euro pound, the top sells. US dollar index extended. So Euro odd, sorry, the top buys. So you just had a reverse alert on Euro odd for long, and Euro pound just had a reverse alert as well, which is just retesting. I just took out the Asian lows as well. And you've also got these levels down here, or that one really, as a potential propulsion where you're going to find some buyers. So I'll be looking down there potentially to get into longs. And Aussie dollar, US dollar is the main sell at the moment. So again, with this one, I would probably wait and see if we can get a move up into propulsion, if we can get anything up there. But again, these US, it's impossible to tell what's going to go on with this US today. At the moment, it seems pretty weak at the open, but Swiss franc is obviously massively strong. That looks like a lovely short US dollar Swiss. How long can this Swiss franc stay strong, though? That's the question. Certainly opening up very strong this morning. CAD Swiss, I'm obviously short on at the minute, so we will see. So that's it for this morning. If you've got any thoughts on how you'd like to do the bootcamp thing, let me know. DM me in Telegram. I need to kind of go through my slides really and have a look at it, but I thought it might be quite a good idea to sort of fill the second half of the session. So DAX short, yeah. Short on the DAX on the opening range. There's a 5 minute there. So that's your 5 minute, 5, 10, 15 opening range short there. Selling straight into potential support here though. See some limits triggered there, look. Just be a bit careful of that short. This will be euro strength, I'd imagine, starting to show through. Not against the US dollar, but wouldn't imagine so against the Swissy either. The euro is starting to strengthen up a little bit, but yeah, be careful of that short. You're selling straight into support. You've got an ADR potential on this one today as well. So there's a couple of levels. Yesterday's, previous day's low, Thursday's low is here. And then we've got that support off of that propulsion gap. So somewhere in that area, I'd be finding buyers. We need to crack that level though. So obviously there's a very obvious support there. So when that cracks, if that cracks, if that cracks, I'd take a short on that aggressively. However, always when you're putting in new highs on any instrument, regardless of whether it's an index or anything, when you're putting in new highs, as soon as you get a breakout to the downside, you are always selling straight into potential support levels. Because obviously by the nature of something going up, when you start to structure shift back down to the downside, there's just tons and tons and tons of potential resistance, support areas, previous resistance turned support areas in front of you, isn't there? So that level there, you can see there's a lot of limit orders triggered off of that. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to obviously push from there, but historically, this is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is our 9th knock on the door. We still haven't got through it. However, there is no buyers today either. As I found out when I should have taken my $1,300 off the table up there and didn't bother. I'm going to have one of those Februaries, am I? It's going to be one of those Februaries. Think positive. So I'm stopped out. My other accounts has also stopped out as well this morning, but they're trading the 15-minute ORB. So actually, yes. Am I? No, I'm not. So no, I'm not. I'm short. So the 15-minute ORB is this. I didn't get in on that. I didn't get filled on that. Ooh, look at that. 13, I'm 15. So I didn't get filled on the long. I have just been filled short though. So I am short on my other account on the DAX at the moment. So I'm in this as well. My stop's all the way up there though. So actually my stop is 45. So where are we down? We're down there. Stop's here. So I'm immediately trailing, but tough open today. A lot of volatility. So we're having another crack at this low. So just watch this low. If this low breaks, yeah, we've got a very, very good, strong possibility of a drop today. So this level, very, very, very strong. When that sort of level, when you've got so much buying, limit buys coming in here, so we push back down into it. Yeah. So they broke that high with that propulsion. We pushed down. They bought. Limit orders went in there. As soon as we touched it again, got bought up. Came to again, bought. Limit orders triggering again and again. Trigger, 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 trigger. Yeah. We have come into that very hard though this time. So if this breaks, we will likely flush out the bottom there very, very quickly. And then obviously we're going to run straight into potential support there. But if that breaks, it's an ADR hit to the downside potentially today. So lots of good downside on that, which I do really fancy short. Do I dare? I am short on my other account. So that is a to the pip hit on the Asian pre-market low there. Although that's not real, but what do we think? What do we think? Like it. So about 30-point flush to the downside, I reckon, if that breaks, but we'll see. Anybody got anything else they want to look at? Any other pairs? I'm going to go out the lows on that. I'm going to take one more. It's also yesterday's low. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That support. They're buying yesterday's low up, which is the London session kind of pullback, if you like. If it breaks, it's like think of it like the knocking on the door. It's like you knock on the door 3 times, you can't get through. The 4th time you hit that door, you hit it usually with so much force it breaks, and when it breaks, that's when you start to see the flush. We've had 3 knocks on the door there, although that is pre-market action. So this is really the 4th knock, if you like. If that does get through there, we will flush that quite substantially, I reckon. We'll get a big, nice, strong move out the bottom of it. But we will see. EuroCAD for a buy. Yeah, EuroCAD looks good for a long. 4 hour. No, we're not extending on 4 hour. Again, with all of these Canadians and these USs, it's totally in control of whether or not they want to add into this US move. Every news move we have has the potential to get faded, as this one. Look, faded that out. One thing, just watch the DAX. Brought it up again. Look. Sellers are not having any of it. There we go. We're at the lows. So we should see some a good flush out of that, hopefully now. All these everybody's buying this level, basically being liquidated and flipping short. Not a very fast reaction though, is there? Watch that. Yeah, so with all these, the question is this unemployment move real or not? We don't know, do we? Very, very difficult to tell. US dollar yen, but I like it as a long, definitely. It's got nicely extended. So yeah, but is it or isn't it a fade? I can't really tell. I can't tell with this US dollar. It's so schizophrenic, the US dollar at the minute. Doesn't matter how much good news you give it. It's like, you're not sure. US dollar yen. So all yen pairs, basically, again, same thing with the US dollar yen. Massively extended on the 4 hour and on the hourly. Fade. So we know the yen is strong and the US dollar is incredibly weak. There is always a turning point fundamentally. So the question is the unemployment figures enough for the market now to actually start flipping long? If they are going to flip long US, finally, this is it, potentially. So shorting this, obviously, is a good mean reversion trade. So we are nicely extended on the RSI. We will usually get a profit take, but I wouldn't necessarily think we're going to break these lows. I'd be thinking pulling back. You've got multiple areas on US dollar yen as well to act as potential support levels. So these areas, you can see obviously that area there has been tested. We've got this area here, which we pushed down into tested, finally broke. We retested that area as well. So as we're coming down on a pullback, you need to look at where potentially the bounce points are going to be. That's the most obvious because that's the most recent resistance, which will turn into support. Or we're going to get a deep pullback and retest this area where all the buying started and the buyers will step in down there. That is a 200% ADR move. So for it to get down there today is going to be, it's going to have to be a pretty hefty move, isn't it? Unlikely to happen. It's going to need some intervention from the yen. So I'd be worried about shorting it too aggressively. Gap fill, highly likely. But this is the question. There's no one that can give you the answer to anything today, because is it or isn't it a move of strength on behalf of the US dollar? We don't know yet. Hopefully it is. But either way, we're going to retest this area at some point. Is it going to be today or is it going to be later this week? Difficult. I'd be much more inclined to be shorting it though, rather than longing it. Aussie dollar yen. Frank. The mess. Couldn't tell you either way on that. Don't know. 4 hour, RSI, you're just sitting in the middle. Hourly, you're just sitting in the middle. It's struggling at resistance. It's just, I don't know. No bias on it at all. Retail at the moment are short it. So I would be saying I'll be more interested in longing it than shorting it, but there's not really anywhere for it to go long much. You could get a move up back into those highs. Liquidity will be sitting up there, so you get a move up to there. I don't really have any bias on it at all on that one. Pound odd. Again, I'll be shorting this. But whatever you do with the pound odd today, just be aware that tomorrow morning it's going to be a totally different story. So whatever you do, you get on today. If you're not out by the end of the day, you're flipping a coin long or short tomorrow. Heads or tails, don't know. One or the other. It's going to move tomorrow. And it's going to move based on what they do with their interest rates and what the Royal Bank of Australia says its forward guidance will be for the next quarter. So there's no advantage long or short on it at the minute. We've just had a reversal alert to the upside in a downtrend. You've got levels at ADR potentially to aim for. Again, there's no advantage either way on that one, really. And like everything, if you're going to get into a position trade ahead of a major announcement, you've got a 50-50 shot of it going your way or not. So there's no real advantage on that one at all, pound odd. I'd be much more inclined to short it. So I would be looking for an ADR short or an RSI extension to the upside on the hourly again. So we just about got there on Friday. Kind of ignore that because that's a broker candle where we opened. So if this is pushing up into that area of that propulsion gap there, so this is where that move, that's more of an A shape, but that's the last propulsion move down, which got tested twice. If we push back up into there, I'll be shorting it. Did you go through Aussie dollar CAD? Yeah, that was a 4-hour RSI extension. So again, Aussie dollar, whatever you do with that today, bear in mind you're going to get smashed on it tomorrow, long or short, one way or the other. So need to think about that for tomorrow. I suspect we'll get some strength on the Aussie. So the trouble with the Aussie is, if you look at their history with interest rates, yeah, they do change their interest rates 3 times in the last sort of 6 months. They've done something different to what they said they were going to do. Yeah. So they said they were going to go 2.5, they went 3.5. Then they said they were going to go 6 and they went 8.5. Then they said they're going to go 8.5 and they went 0.6. Yeah. So yes, they say they're going to go 3.5. Are they? I don't know. And that will have a massive impact. If that comes out as a negative number, that's tanking. If it comes out as a positive, that's pumping. No idea. If you look at the last, since we came out of COVID and we started to change, or simply came out of the sort of the COVID backlog, if you like, and we started to change interest rates around the world, 3 times out of what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3 times out of 8, 40% of the time ish, 35, whatever it is, they've decided to do something different. So yeah, the odds are in your favor that we're going to get a 3.35, but the market's already factored that in. We've had a strong Aussie for the last few weeks, so that's already priced in that move. So you've got to be careful. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. So any of these that you take on the Aussies, admittedly, they all look like lovely longs at the moment, but especially Aussie CAD, you've got what the hell's going to happen tomorrow, and what the hell are they going to do with that move off of the unemployment figures? That's a strong move. That was a really strong move. I think, I'm not sure which the strongest one was. Was it? It was probably the pound US. What did we get out of that in the end? So that was 200. So that was nearly just about 200 ADR. Euro, US dollar, got the same. US dollar was US dollar yen. Look. So US dollar yen, we did 286 pips off of 150. So nearly 200. So it's almost 200% ADRs across the board on the US dollar. And it didn't stop, did it? Literally, we just went whoop. And we've gapped up. So it does look like there's US dollar strength. If there's CAD strength, as well, which will come with it, potentially that goes down. So it's a tricky one. Very tricky. That's all I've got for you this morning. So we're back this afternoon for the US session. And basically, oh my God, I've got 200. Whoa. Just realized I got. Tell you what, today I just need to go and go back to bed, have a snooze for an hour, and get up as if I hadn't even started today, because literally all I've done since I woken up this morning is everything wrong. Just have one of those days. I've just realised I've put a 20-point stop on the DAX with my add-on positions, which is far too tight. Far too tight. So that's a quick 0.5% loss in the middle of a propulsion gap. That's the most ridiculous trade I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, why me? Right. I'm going to also start a new account, I think, for the sentiment trades today. So the sentiment EA is almost there. It's doing, I think, everything I need it to do at the moment. I've built position trading into it. I've built drawdown control into it. It's obviously pulling in the sentiment live from the website, so everything's kind of working on it. I just want to run this on every pair or on a lot of pairs, just to test the functionality really in a bit more detail, and just to figure out the best way to try and use it. So I'm going to set up I'm probably going to just set up a Robo Forex demo account because I was going to test this on a proper valuation account, but I think what I'm going to do is just set it up on a demo to start with, and just see what happens over time, and see how well it performs on the different levels, because I get the feeling that these 4-hour levels are going to be way too many entries from all the testing that I've done. The trouble with this EA as well is it's impossible to backtest. You can't backtest sentiment because we don't have historical sentiment, so you can only forward test it. And the forward test that I've done on the 4-hour looks good for scalping, but when you get you get a push for a half an ADR or an ADR against you with these 4 hours, you're going to get hurt. So I think the daily highs and lows and the weekly highs and lows is really all I'm interested in using. So obviously with the sentiment, as we saw with the DAX, with sentiment, you're always going to get that movement at the high and the low of yesterday. Because that's where the liquidity is sitting. And obviously the whole point of retail sentiment is that we're going to reach for those levels before we pull back. So yesterday's highs and yesterday's lows are the key points. And obviously you're really only going to get one trade in a day. So it's a case of I want to set it up, get it to get me into those trades and see how quickly they come into profit and how far they come into profit by. So I'm not going to set any take profit targets. I'm going to use 1.5 ADR stops. I've also put into it a false stop loss, a little bit like the market reverse alert EA. So with the stop loss, you can cancel the stop loss and use drawdown control instead of using a stop to scale out of the positions. So I'm just going to test it basically across all the different pairs and just see how it gets on. Just fine tuning, but it's going to be a long road, this one, I think, unfortunately, from a development perspective, because you can't backtest it. So it's a forward test jobby only, and literally all it's doing is taking the retail sentiment and trading against this, and basically building positions against retail sentiment. So and again, levels wise, I don't know whether to use 60, 70, 75, whatever. So in this case today, we'd only be trading 3 of them, wouldn't we? If I was using 75, I'll be trading those 3 long, and I'll be trading those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll be trading those long, short rather. Short. Which way is an arrow go? So you're always going to have every day, there's going to be pairs you're going to get into, but obviously this lot in the middle, we're just not interested in from a sentiment perspective. We want the extremes, as always, because we're mean reverting the sentiment. So yeah, that's all kind of set up, ready to go. So that's on my list to do today, is just to get a Robo account set up, get the EA set up, and just let it start running. And obviously see how it goes. But don't know. We'll see on that one. Right, that's all me done for this morning. I'll be back this afternoon at 2:20. Hopefully, we'll have more luck this afternoon. My morning is over, basically, because I've hit my max loss. DAX is about to stop me out again because I've just got into a position with a 20-point stop on something that moves about 50 points every candle. There we go, another 500 down the pan, and I am literally a gnat's whisker away from blowing the second stage evaluation. So that's my morning over. That's my account over. Never mind. Start again. This is why you shouldn't try and do it live on stream. My other ones are doing absolutely fine. Give up. Right. I'll be back this afternoon. If anybody's got anything they want to look at this afternoon, let me know. And I'll be in the Telegram group if you need me up until then. But I'll be keeping an eye on these this morning, basically. Actually, I might scale out of some of this just to bring this down a little bit, because this is close to blowing now, because I've screwed up so badly with the EAs this morning. But then again, if you try and trade with an EA manually, you're doing it against what it's designed to do, aren't you? So you get stupid results. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say with programming. Right. So I'll be back this afternoon, 2:20. We'll have a look at the New York session. You've got no news to worry about this morning. So obviously PMIs this afternoon for the CAD. But that's it. So today's session really will be focused on US dollar. What are they going to do with the US dollar moves from Friday? Are we going to see some fades? So those are your opportunities today. Anything US dollar, anything CAD, potentially either fading or continuations. So we need to see what happens with those. Quite a key point today. All right. Okay, so have a good morning. Hopefully better than mine. And I'll be back at 2:20 this afternoon for New York. See you then.